Coach McEndoo with Jason McEndoo with Office Hours and the Cowboy Backs coach. And Coach, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, and you know what? Before we get into much of the uh, the Cowboy back position and talking some X's and O's and football and all that good stuff, you've got four kids, three daughters, and a son that are very active. I enjoy seeing the news on Twitter. Some of it athletic, some of it agriculture. Your kids are real involved with showing, with FFA and all that stuff. But there is one recruit we can talk to you about. Normally can't even mention recruiting with a coach, but there's one in the household that had a lot to do and helped Stillwater last year as they went to the finals in 6A2. And I know I've seen him at various camps and showcases talking about Luke. And the one thing I notice about him is his work ethic. And the other thing is he doesn't care who's on the other side, which I think that's a great thing. He jumps in there against anybody and everybody.
Yeah, he sure does. He does a tremendous job just putting his head down, working every day. I think that's probably the biggest thing that he's watched over the years. I mean, coming to all the different practices and different games and stuff like that. I think that's one thing that he's learned, and we talk about all the time. And I think that's what I appreciate about him. He just jumps in there, and it doesn't matter who's there or who's what camp he's at or where he's at and who he's going against. He's going to get in there and get a bunch of reps. And I tell him every chance you get to take another rep is another chance to get better. So he's been working really hard, and about next year, Stillwater football. I mean, they've got a great squad coming back, and lost the offensive line, but really that whole entire team is intact coming back. So it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch him going in his junior year and see what he can do.
Yeah, and you know what? Just for other parents out there, because you can kind of you can kind of help them out a little bit. I mean, with your relationship with Luke and knowing Luke the way I kind of do, my guess is that if anything, you have to kind of turn him off a little bit and say, hey, relax a little bit here, because to me, he seems like that hard charger that he'll go football and training and all the time, and you do need to have a life outside football. But how do you guys handle that father-son relationship when you're a coach and he knows he can come to you for expertise? Is it tough to handle, or is it pretty easy?
That's a great question, and I think I struggle with it every day. I think the hard part is just having balance, and just remember that, there's times I just need to be dad, and I think that's what I struggle with, just being honest. I'm probably the hardest on him than anybody. You have to get done watching game, you watch huddle, and I always kind of chuckle and say, look, man, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a CPA. I'm not a carpenter. I'm a ball coach. So at the end of the day, when we watch film, I try to give him my 2 cents or what I see or what I want. Sometimes he takes the criticism. Sometimes he doesn't. But that's I just try to be honest with him and try to be real and just trying to help him through the process. I think the biggest thing right now is just separating the recruiting process from being coach, college football coach, Oklahoma State, and then also being dad on the other side and helping him through the process. And I think at the end of the day, I think the things I've said over the years about recruiting is there's a spot for everybody to play. But I also encourage guys to chase their dreams and try to play at the highest level possible, and whatever that may be. And and I think when guys focus on the process and what it takes to be great at what they do, I think good things will happen. And I think Luke he's right in the middle of that process right now, and just keeping his head down and working really hard every day in the weight room, the running, different camps. I mean, all the different individual things that he's doing. And I'm just trying to be encouraging and be uplifting and helping him through that process. But I think the one thing, Robert, out there nowadays is different than 10 years ago is just social media. And how the difference that plays in recruiting and how much earlier recruiting is now. I think a lot of guys out there, parents out there that, if their son or daughter it's not sitting on 10 scholarships right now going into their sophomore, junior year, it's okay. I mean, it's a long process. There's a lot of water in the bridge, and just be encouraging, uplifting to their kids or sons and daughters, just keep working and keep applying their trade and just try to be the best at what they can do and don't worry about things they can't control.
Yeah, and the fact you brought up social media there, because I'm involved in covering the recruiting process, and I can tell you things get misconstrued, and again, I think kids have to be careful about what they put out there, because I think funny comparison, but my wife was in a sorority, my daughter was in the same sorority, and just because I hear some of that talk, and they talk about how before they bring in members in Rush, they'll look at their Twitter and Facebooks or whatever accounts they're on, because that'll tell you a little bit of what kind of person they are. And I mean, the same thing with recruits. I would warn them, if it's something that's repulsive or something you don't want people to see that wouldn't make them think well of you, you might stay away from that on your social media.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're constantly looking at pouring through kids' social media, their different accounts. I mean, it's very telling of what they're doing, what they're spending their time doing, and and I think a lot of kids are just don't even have they have a misconception of what that platform can do for them. Like I said, it can hurt you as much as help you. I try to promote. I try to get kids to understand that it's a branding tool. It's a way to get your message out there, or your recruitment, or different types of things that you're doing. But also you can also stop that recruiting right where it starts by by what you're tweeting or retweeting or posting out there. So you're exactly right. And I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna put that out there for parents as well. I mean, I'll follow recruits' parents and get to know them and follow them as well. And it's you got to get to know the whole process, the whole family, and it's everything you put out there you can't get back. So you got to be really really cognizant of what you're putting out there and what you're promoting for sure.
All right, Jason McEndoo with us, and we're going to actually talk football. I know that's what people like, Robert. Let's talk a little football. Cowboy back position, and I think judging from the spring, really like a lot of things at the position. One is obviously Jelani Woods, and he had a big game against Texas last year with the first touchdown. I think as the year got on, I thought he played pretty well. In fact, there were some games where he had some blocks that we talked about this before that kind of sealed some scoring opportunities and helped backs get in the end zone. But before we talk about Jelani alone, I think Logan Carter obviously is developing in front of our eyes. And then I was real excited with the move of Larry Jobert, being a kid that played for my son up at NEO. And I think there's a chance for him to really find a good niche for him with what he can do at that position, with who was lost, some of the fullback type guys. So in general, how do you feel about your room?
I feel great about the room. I think we're moving in the right direction. And, I'm going to my 5th season here now at Oklahoma State. And, really the reason why Coach Gundy brought me into the program was really to bring that blocking element to that room and just really give just an overall voice to bring everybody in. We do as much next to the quarterback. We do as much as anybody else on the offensive side. And anywhere from playing the tight end position, the wide receiver position, the fullback position. My guys got to play on both sides of the ball. They play every position out there, so they really got to be able to do a lot and be very versatile. So, Jelani and Logan and Larry, and then even throwing Dayton Metcalf. He's a kid from Hooker. He stepped in the spring, and he's going to fill that fullback role, I think, for the fall. But I feel very excited about the room, the direction that we're going, and what Coach Gleason's going to bring to the table and how he's going to utilize us now. So I'm feeling very, very optimistic, and feel like almost like the 2016 year when we had Blake Jarwin and Zach Beach, kind of that tandem right there with Jelani and Logan leading the charge right there. So I'm feeling really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. That was a fun year. We've seen obviously what Blake's gone on to do, and then the other thing was Zach, and that's kind of what I equated Larry to. I don't know what his ball skills are, although I saw some stuff in the spring. It wasn't a game, but that spring drill, he had a couple of sensational catches that the crowd reacted to. A couple of one hand type stuff, but. again, looking for that guy that can do what a Zach Veach can do, which was so valuable, is pretty important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jelani's leading the charge. Last year when we made the move to Cowboy back, everybody kind of like, boy, I don't know. He's been a quarterback. Can he do it? That kid just got better and better every single game throughout the season. At the start of the season, he was like a baby giraffe. I mean, he was all elbows, knees, just kind of looked uncoordinated at times, but he's 6'8", he's a big old joker out there rolling around. And, I mean, he just got better every single game, blocking, and then, of course, got hurt at the end of the season, missed the last 3 games. But I don't think there's probably another guy in the off season that has better spring ball than Jelani. I mean, he looks like a grown man now. I mean, he put on 26 pounds of lean muscle mass. Came in at 230 something as a quarterback, and then he really got the Coach Glass to take him over, and he really bought it in the weight room, and his blocking just went off the charts in the spring ball. So I I just can't wait to see him in the fall and what we can do to utilize him getting across the middle at 6'8". I mean, that's a big, long wingspan. Ivan Drago, a.k.a. Logan Carter, that kid has just been phenomenal. And he's the type of person that if he were to walk in my office today and say, you know what, Coach, I'm going to thanks for everything, but I'm going to go join the Navy SEALs, I would totally see that. I mean, he's a yes sir, no sir, I'll show you kind of guy. And he's just really worked himself into, he's taken the Blake Jarwin route and became his non-scholarship guy, and he's hopefully working himself into that role. But when Jelani went down in the season, he stepped right in, finished it out. He had a great game against Missouri. He's 245 pounds, looking really good, strong, moving Larry Gilbert over. The thing about Larry having played for your son of NEO, brought him in as an offensive lineman. We tried him at center, guard, tackle, kind of tried him all over. But he just, just couldn't put on the body mass that it requires to play that position to be a 300-pounder. So we made the move, and he came in with a big old smile in the spring. And I just said, hey, one thing, just just give me everything you got. Just buy in and give me everything you got, and we'll see where it goes. And he did exactly that. And I think you're right. There's gonna be a role for him somewhere in that offense, situational stuff. But he brings that Zach Veach blocking element to it, and he's got good enough hands that he can catch the ball in the backfield or a check down, stuff like that. He's not going to probably be running the seam route down the middle, but he did a good job. And the guy that did a great job was Dayton Metcalf out of Hooker, Oklahoma. He caught 7 touchdowns in the spring. Out of play, just different stuff throughout the spring. So he really did a nice job stepping in that filling that fullback role. So and he's a great special teams asset as well. So moving in the fall, he'll help us out somewhere too.
Yeah, and that's the other thing when you start talking about these guys. Jelani was a quarterback, but you look at his demeanor and even when he was in the quarterback room, the way he carried himself, a very unselfish type. And sometimes you get that with quarterbacks, and sometimes you get those quarterbacks that are a little more high maintenance. But but with Jelani, you didn't sense that was there. And then you start talking about the other guys, Dayton and Logan and Larry, and you really sense there's a lot of unselfishness in your room, and that's, to me, I think that's got to be a character quality that you look for in this position, because you're going to have to do a lot of things. You're not always going to get a ton of credit for what it is you do, but it's all important.
Oh, absolutely. I was kid with them all the time. We're just glorified offensive linemen at times with eligible numbers. We do got to be very selfless in what you do, and probably not going to get as much touch as the wideout position. That's the nature of the beast. But when the ball is coming your way, we got to be ready at all times. But we take pride in the blocking role. I mean, really, in my opinion, I feel like the football is coming full circle. It's coming back to 21 personnel. It's going to come back to 12 personnel. You're going to see more teams trying to use a tight end surface, his 3-man surface side, for example. I mean, everybody's gone to this Iowa State 3-down, drop 8 stuff. Well, there's nowhere to throw the ball, and it's hard to run the ball with no edges. So you start adding tight ends in there, that's a whole different ball game. So that's why you see everybody scrambling and recruiting. For example, I was on a recruit in Texas. I mean, he went up to 40 offers. I mean, it's just everybody's trying to get that length, add length to the edge so they can add an extra gap and start blocking some of these 3-down teams. So that's why everybody's making that push towards that personnel group, which benefits us in the cowboy back room. And now you take those guys and you say, look, we can do multiple things. We can break sets. We can line up, come out in 12 personnel, and then line up at 11 personnel sets, and we can roll up and down the field with tempo and not substitute. You're giving defense a headache right there. So.
And the other thing, Coach, and you just mentioned this, can't talk recruiting in numbers, even though I can say there has been a commitment at your position already for the 2020 class. But the one thing I noticed, and this is great, Oklahoma State several years back when you came in and branded the position the cowboy back. And early on, you could sense, okay, cowboy back, and maybe that confused, if not recruits who had it explained to them, it recruited people out there that were looking and evaluating at what Oklahoma State was doing and so forth. But boy, with the last year, the last cycle, more kids that I talk to at that position when they're being recruited by Oklahoma State, that term is now being really embraced. The cowboy back, I've had several guys tell me, well, yeah, I can see myself being in that versatile role that they have at Oklahoma State, the cowboy back. That's kind of got to make it a little easier for you now that term is out there and people understand what it means, recruits especially.
Oh, exactly. I mean, when I first got here, hired here in 2015, went to go get my first business card, and Coach Gundy said, hey, I don't want tight end fullback on your card. Come up with a term. And I said, a term? He's like, yeah, come up with something we can market. So I came back to my office and sat down, and I started kind of doodling around, and outlaw back, the pistol Pete back. I called it the super back before, and kind of just kept looking around, trying to figure it out. Then I looked up and I saw, just something on my desk and said Cowboys. I said, well, how about the cowboy back? Coach said, that's genius. That's awesome. We'll market the crap out of that. So, yeah, it's been an ongoing process, but now it is a versatile term that people understand. And the Stillwater here, they call their guy, Luke plays their pioneer back. I've had other guys contact me, and they call whatever, they market that position for them as well. And I think it's been great, and it helps me in recruiting. That really, it's intriguing. Kids are like, well, what is that? Can you tell me more about that? So I think that's really helped in recruiting and definitely, branded it moving forward. And Coach Gundy, he's always thinking outside the box, and he's usually a few years ahead of most folks. And so I think that's just something right there where we're kind of set the branding in motion, and now we're reaping the benefits. And bringing a guy like Grayson Boomer, keep being able to keep a kid like that here in the state, and 4-star guy, and get him going, and then now kind of create that pipeline with those versatile hybrid kind of guys that want to play this position.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention Grayson. He's on campus now and working out and getting ready. It'll be fun to get him on the practice field when you guys get back at it here at the end of the month and start fall camp. Hey, Coach, I appreciate it, and enjoy some time with that family of yours. And again, I know we mentioned Luke, but I know you're really proud of your 3 daughters and everything they're involved in. And you can't go very far or very long in this community without seeing a McEndoo out there doing something.
Well, I appreciate it. We love being here. We love being in the community. Stillwater's a special spot. We're just happy to be here and be a part of it. And I think college coaching is so difficult in general, and but just to be able to coach at a school like Oklahoma State, live in a place where we can show steers and have some acreage and be able to do everything, and everything is. Ruth and I, if we're ever really in the same spot on a weekend in some event, people think something's wrong because we're usually on the go, different opposite directions with everybody. But we just balance it all and make it happen. And of course, Coach Gundy, having the flexibility as a coaching staff, be able to do those things with your family really helps out. So, yeah, we love being here.
Yeah, Coach, I appreciate the time. Enjoy some time off, and we'll get ready to get back to the grind.
All right, thanks, Robert. Have a good day.